You probably think your memories are solid, right? As real as the rain on the window of your flat, or the steam on your morning kettle. Tangible, verifiable. But what if I told you some of your most precious memories are actually fictions your brain wrote, without asking permission? That the library of your life, the one you visit every day to understand yourself, is full of ghost-written chapters. Take a second. Think about your first day at school. Can you see it? Maybe you remember the coat you wore, the sound of rain on the playground, the feeling of a parent's hand letting go at the school gate, the building towering like a fortress. Those details you're picturing right now, there's a very good chance they're wrong. Not slightly wrong completely. Provably wrong, because your memory doesn't record. It rebuilds. Every time you look at a memory, your brain edits it, like a quiet editor in the background, changing words you never asked to be changed. And the most unsettling part, you feel certain, you feel sure, like it happened exactly that way. You defend it in front of anyone, even in a cafe on a rainy afternoon, while the barista is making your drink. But certainty is not proof. It's just confidence. And confidence can be built on lies. Now, before you start thinking this is about memory being broken, it's not broken. It's built for survival. And survival doesn't care about accuracy. It cares about speed. And the speed of your brain is why you believe your own false stories. Think about your commute. The same train, same platform, same people, day after day. You don't question it. You don't even think about it. You just do it. That's how your memory works too. It repeats without questioning. It repeats until repetition becomes truth. Now, here's the first unsettling question. When you remember something, who is doing the remembering? You, or the version of you your brain has created? And if that version is in control, then what does that make you? A witness. Not a judge. Not the owner. Not the owner. And that's why your mind can lie to you so calmly. Because you're not watching it happen. You're living it. You're feeling Italiano. You're believing it. And that belief becomes your reality. You feel a sense of unease, don't you? That's the first sign. Your brain has just started to show its seams. And the seams are not small. They're wide. They're deep. They're everywhere. If you want to protect yourself from this, you need to pay attention. You need to notice the small changes, because the small changes are the proof. And if you're not careful, the proof will disappear. Like the mist on the Thames in the morning, vanishing before you can touch it. If you're still with me, then you're already noticing. And if you're noticing, then you're awake. And if you're awake, you're not safe anymore. Because now your brain has to keep lying while you're watching. That's why this video matters. Because the moment you realize your mind is capable of lying, you start seeing it everywhere. And that changes everything. Now, before we go deeper, if you want to stay aware of the tricks your mind plays on you, Maksuda Yurei subscribed. Not for entertainment, for protection. Because once you understand this, you can't unsee it, and you won't want to. You'll want to stay sharp. You'll want to stay awake. Because your brain is not your friend. It's your most powerful enemy. And it's winning. But not forever. Not if you keep watching. Not if you keep listening. Not if you keep noticing. Now, let's experience it. Right now. I'm going to ask you a few simple questions. You've heard these things hundreds of times. Don't overthink it. Go with your gut. Ready? First. In the UK, what's the phrase you hear at the train station when the announcement is late? We apologize for the delay. We're sorry for the inconvenience. Most people think it's the first one, but it's the second. Because your brain fills in what feels right, and you never question it. Second, think about the image of a rich old man in your head. What does he wear? A top hat. A cane. monocle? Right. You're not alone. Many people picture it, but the reality is, monocles are rare. They were never as common as your brain believes. Your brain is filling the gap with a stereotype. Third, the famous line from a movie you've seen 100 times. No, I am your father. You might be thinking of something else, something more familiar. Luke, I am your father. That's what you remember. That's what your brain insists. But it's wrong. The line is different, and the difference is small. But it changes everything. Now, here's the part you need to understand. These are not random mistakes. They are predictable. They follow patterns because your brain doesn't store memories. It reconstructs them like a Wikipedia page, like a story. And the story gets edited every time you revisit it. You don't notice the edits because the edits feel familiar, because familiarity feels like truth. Now think about your daily routine, the way you walk into the office, the way you nod at the receptionist, the way you say sorry even when it wasn't your fault. You do it automatically. Polite, quiet, understated. But those small habits are where your mind hides its control. Because when you repeat something enough, you stop questioning it. Your brain loves repetition. Repetition is comfort. Comfort is safety. Safety is survival. And survival is the brain's only goal. Now let's test another memory. The spelling of a famous family of bears. Do you remember it? Berenstein. Or Berenstein. Most people say Berenstein confidently. But the truth is, it's always been better, and your brain knows that. But it chooses the version that feels right. Because Stein feels more familiar than Stain, and familiarity wins. Now, you might be thinking, so what? It's just a small mistake. But it isn't. Because if your brain can rewrite a harmless childhood memory, it can rewrite anything, including your sense of self, including your relationships, including the story you tell yourself about your life. And that's why this matters, because you are not just remembering, you are being remembered by a version of you that edits without asking. Now listen carefully. The moment you realize this, you stop trusting your certainty, and that's the first step toward freedom. But you're not free yet, not even close, because the brain has more tricks, and we haven't reached the core truth. Not yet.
Not until later, but you're starting to feel it, that unease, that uncomfortable gap between what you remember and what you know. That's the mind opening its door. And once it opens, you can't force it closed. You can only learn to walk through it. Now, I want you to think about the last time you felt sure about something. Something you couldn't be wrong about. Something you would defend. Now ask yourself, was that certainty earned? Or was it handed to you by a brain that wants you calm? Calm is easier to control. Calm is easier to guide. Calm is easier to keep quiet. And that's why the brain lies so gently. It doesn't shout. It whispers. It rearranges. It edits. And you never notice until you do. It's Kuhn. 3 to 7 o'clock. 2:15 o'clock. Normalization and denial. Now we move into the part where your mind starts protecting itself. The part where denial becomes comfort. Because you don't like the idea that you could be wrong, especially about yourself. So your brain builds a shield, tells you this is how it happened, and you believe it. Because belief is easier than doubt. Now in the UK, we are trained to be polite. We are trained to avoid conflict. We are trained to keep our thoughts to ourselves. That's why you don't question your own memory. You don't challenge yourself. You don't argue with your own mind. You just accept. You nod. You smile. You say sorry for existing. That's the British way. But that politeness is also a form of control, because when you don't challenge yourself, your mind stays in control. It keeps editing, keeps rewriting, and you keep living the rewritten version. Now you might think this is just a few memory mistakes, but it's not. It's the same mechanism that makes you believe your own excuses. The same mechanism that makes you stay in a job you hate. The same mechanism that makes you stay in a relationship that drains you. Because your brain wants comfort. Comfort is safe. Safe is predictable. Predictable is controllable. Control is the brain's favorite thing. Now let's talk about bias. The brain loves bias because bias is fast. Fast decisions save energy. Energy saves survival. But fast decisions are not accurate decisions. For example, negativity bias. You remember criticism more than compliments. 10 nice things disappear. 1 harsh word stays. You replay it on the way home from work. You replay it in the shower. You replay it in bed because your brain thinks it's keeping you safe, but it's actually trapping you. Now consider the halo effect. One positive trait makes you assume others. Someone looks confident, so you assume they're intelligent. Someone looks calm, so you assume they're trustworthy. But appearances are just costumes, and your brain is easily fooled by costumes. And the worst part, you don't know you're fooled, because you believe your own judgment, and judgment feels like truth. Think about the last time you argued with someone. You were certain you were right. They were certain they were right.
They were certain they were right. Both of you were confident. Both of you were wrong. But you didn't know it, because confidence is not accuracy. Confidence is just energy, and energy is easy to feel, but it doesn't mean it's real. Now, I want you to imagine something. Imagine your memory is a story you keep rewriting. Each time you remember, you add a new detail. A detail you didn't notice at the time. A detail you heard later. A detail someone else told you. A detail your brain invented because it felt right. Now ask yourself, how much of your life is a story, and how much is truth? You don't want to know the answer. But you do, because you're still watching. You're still listening. And that means you're still awake. And once you're awake, your brain can't go back to sleep. Not fully. Not fully. Not without effort. That's why your brain fights this. That's why you feel discomfort. Because the brain hates being exposed. It hates losing control. And right now, it's losing control. Slowly, quietly, and you're the one doing it. Now, before we move on, if you're feeling uncomfortable, good. That means you're not numbing yourself. That means you're not obeying the brain's comfort trick. That means you're starting to resist. And resistance is the first step toward clarity. But the truth is still ahead. Not yet. Not until later. Not until you're ready. But you're getting closer. Much closer. Section 4, 2:15. O'clock to 22 o'clock. Resistance and discomfort. Now the resistance begins. The part where your mind tries to pull you back into comfort. It tells you you're overthinking. You're being dramatic. You're making things worse. That's the brain trying to regain control. It wants you to stop questioning. Because questioning leads to uncertainty. And uncertainty is uncomfortable. And discomfort is the enemy of the brain. The brain prefers quiet. It prefers routine. It prefers the same train, same platform, same life. But you are not here for quiet anymore. You are here for truth. Now, think about the way you behave in a queue. You stand still. You wait. You don't push. You don't complain. You don't challenge. You accept. That's politeness, but it's also training. Training you to obey without question. Training you to accept the version of reality the brain gives you. And now, you're beginning to see it. You're beginning to feel it. That tightness in your chest. That quiet panic. But this is wrong feeling. That's your mind resisting its own control. And you should listen to it. Because that resistance is your first real sign of awareness. Now let's talk about something else. Something more personal. The stories you tell yourself. About who you are. About what you deserve. About what you can become. Your brain writes those stories too. And it edits them constantly. It edits them to keep you safe. Safe means predictable. Predictable means controlled. And controlled means you don't change. Now, you might be thinking, I'm not controlled. I'm in charge. But the truth is, you're in charge of the story only when you notice the edits. That is the moment you reclaim your mind. That is the moment you stop being edited. That is the moment you start living your own story. Now, this realization might feel heavy. It might feel like a burden. But it's not. It's a key to your own freedom. And once you have it, you can't lose it. You can only ignore it. And ignoring it is a choice too. Now, if this has made you question your own memories, you're not alone. And if you want to keep uncovering these hidden truths, stay subscribed. Because the mind doesn't stop lying just because you noticed it. It keeps trying, and you need to keep watching. You need to keep learning. You need to keep waking up. Because this is not the last illusion. It's just the first second's aftermath. And mental residue, now the aftermath begins. The mental residue, feeling that something in you has shifted. That you can't go back to the old version of yourself. That you can't trust your certainty. And that's the point, because certainty was the trap. Certainty was the comfort. Comfort was the control. Now, you start noticing small changes, like the way you pause before saying sorry, like the way you question the story your mind tells you, like zeroes the way you watch yourself think. You become your own observer. And observation is power. Now, think about tomorrow. The same train, the same platform, the same gray sky, but you won't be the same. Because now, you'll notice the patterns. You'll notice how your mind edits. You'll notice how it makes you compliant. You'll notice how it makes you quiet, and you'll see the control behind politeness. And that's the final lesson. Your mind is not your enemy. It's just a powerful tool, and powerful tools can be used against you. But you can choose how to use them. You can choose to become aware. You can choose to stop being edited. You can choose to stop obeying the automatic version of you. Now, one last question for you. When was the last time you caught your brain lying to you? And did you let it continue? Or did you stop it? Comment below. Share this with someone you care about. Not because it's entertaining, but because it's a warning. Because they deserve to know how their mind controls them. And if you're still here, if you're still listening, if you're still awake, then you know what to do. Stay aware. Stay quiet. Stay strong. And subscribe quietly if you haven't already. Because once you understand this, you can't unknow it, and you won't want to. You'll want to keep watching. You'll want to keep learning. You'll want to keep waking up. And that's how you reclaim your mind.